You want positivity. You got the right guy. That's what you're going to get from one Sean Marash. Is that an accurate assessment of how you feel about the Giants here in late June?
My assessment would be I'm fair about them. I'm not out there picking them to win 10 games or anything like that, but I also don't think there's some kind of 3-win atrocity. I think they're going to inevitably live where most of the NFL lives, which is somewhere in that 6 to 9 win range. And you tell me where 3 games determine whether they have 6 wins, 7 wins, 9 wins, something like that. Overall is how I feel.
Yep, Sean.
Fair enough. Was that what Chris Mack was looking for?
I think he was seeing. I think he was thinking much more positivity from me. Okay, here's what it is. As we've been doing this series, I'll just tell you, I'm getting annoyed, and I'm not surprised. But we've been bringing a guest in, like someone that knows a lot more about the team than we do. You are guest number 8. We are 7 for 7. They're picking over on the win total every single guest. So I'm wondering if you are going to make it 8 for 8 instead of waiting around. We'll break down the team here. But where are you? 6.5. That's the win total. It is juiced to the under at BetMGM -140. And you said 6 to 9 range. So the win total is right in there. 6 to
8 and 9.
That
I'm taking the over.
You're going
taking the over.
Okay.
All right. I'm taking the over. Now, hear me out. Can I lay out my case without you totally crushing me? All right. 2 years ago, the Giants win 9 games. Obviously, Daniel Jones is healthy, which is a big reason why. The roster they have today, while extremely unknown, is finally, for the first time since Joe Schoen has taken over, a Joe Schoen roster. There are very few Dave Gettleman guys left. Unfortunately, one of those happens to be Daniel Jones. Last year, the Giants win 6 games with 3 different quarterbacks playing. Now, much like the NFL, they play a Sunday night game versus Buffalo where Darren Waller gets tugged down at the line of scrimmage at the end on the goal line. They lose that game. They lose with 13 seconds left to the Jets. Saquon Barkley just need to fall down 1 yard. And Mason Crosby, because they were down to their 3rd kicker last year, misses a field goal as time expired versus the Rams. 3 games right there where a team that was that bad could have had 9 wins. So it's hard for me to fathom as the roster changes over and you get a playmaker like Malik Neighbors now. You rid yourselves of Saquon Barkley. You maybe improve a little bit on the O-line. You add Brian Burns to the pass rush. It is hard for me to think that a team coached by Brian Daboll that won 9 games 2 years ago, 6 games a year ago, is somehow now going to take a step back this year and win less than that. So that is why I reside in the over. But I don't think it's a galloping over where they're going to surprise you and win double-digit games is all I'm saying.
Hey, what's up, Sean?
What's up,
I get a chance to, as a native, I don't live in New York no more. As a native, though, I get a chance to converse and talk to a lot of New York Giant fans. And there seems to be a split in the fan base. I want to see what side you land on. You got some people that say Daniel Jones just needs an offensive line and that'll fix the Giants' issues. And then you got people that say, why are we not drafting a quarterback? Where are you at on Daniel Jones coming into this season?
Joe's going to hate this answer, Corey, so I hope you like it. I'm both. I am both. Here's the thing. I believe that the Giants have failed Daniel Jones more than Daniel Jones has failed the Giants. However, I also think it's simply too late for him to recover and have some kind of great career with the Giants. I think he showed all the tools. He showed it in his rookie year. He got absolutely ruined in the Joe Judge era. Their offensive line never got better. And you saw it last year where they're starting Josh Azudu at left tackle when they lost Andrew Thomas on opening night. It eventually leads to a neck injury. The fact is, man, he's had 1 healthy year his whole career. It was 2 years ago when he made the playoffs. He's too injury prone. And I think his mental clock is completely shot now. I think that's really the problem. So, yeah, does Daniel Jones need an offensive line? And does Daniel Jones now, for the first time in his career, potentially have a number 1 wide receiver in Malik Neighbors? Absolutely. But it's probably too little too late. I think the mental damage has been done to Daniel Jones. So that's why, I never think he's going to really reach some kind of elite level. That being said, can the Giants make the playoffs with Daniel Jones being healthy? Yeah. Well, how could you say they can't? They did it 2 years ago. But ultimately, I think that this year, and this is where I think it comes down to it, where I'm living in that, 8-win range, they're going to fall short late in December, and they're going to pull the plug a la what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson. And Daniel Jones will not finish the year as the starting quarterback, and they will get out from the contract at the end of the year.
Daniel Jones. So they put his passing number at 2675.5 at BetMGM.
Oh, boy.
2675. So what they're saying is we are expecting Daniel Jones to miss some time. If you're making that bet, if you're betting over, you're saying he's going to be healthy. He's had 3 years, Corey, where he's played 13 games or more. He's had over 2,900 in all 3 of those seasons. So 2675 over, you think he's going to be healthy? Under, you think he's going to be injured again, right?
Or you think he's going to be benched? You see,
Yeah,
and
there's
you got
that
to
too.
factor that in. Yep, you got to factor that into the equation because I tell you what, I don't know if Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones are on each other's Christmas card list. Some of the looks that he shoots him throughout the course of the game are very reminiscent of my daughter's mother and myself. With me being on the Daniel Jones side of the belt, you know what I'm saying? Not in the
Yeah.
power position. Now, with that being said, listen, it's you can't bet under that unless you have information that Daniel Jones is not going to be playing this year. Because if you think that Daniel Jones is going to be at least out there for 10 to 13 games, you would have to go over this number right here. This is like a 1985 total right here.
Man, yeah, it is. Certainly. But I understand the benching idea and how Dayball treats him and how he screams at him. That's understood. But the guy you're going to is Drew Lock. You're going to bench him for Drew Lock. That is a your career is over. There is no coming back. Get the hell out of town.
So I think one of the more fascinating things of last football season was the New York Giants' love affair with Tommy DeVito, right? And you could be like, well, Tommy DeVito is a jag. He's just a guy. Drew Lock is better than whatever, this, that, and the third. But guess what, Joe? The New York Giants played for him, right? The players around him bought into it. They embraced him. They liked him. They went out there and they gave him his all. You saw the fan base buy into him and embrace him. So really, when you go to the backup quarterback, a lot of times it's just the players looking for somebody else to get behind. And we've seen players and teams get behind Drew Lock before. Listen, Brian Daboll has tried to give this job to everybody to fix this Daniel Jones problem. Yep. And why not Drew Lock at this point? Drew Lock, excuse me.
Yep, certainly. All right, Saquon's out. Didn't get to 1,000 yards last year. Devin Singletary is in. The numbers kind of all over the map. Rushing yards for Singletary. I see 700 out there, 750. The touchdown number, only 3.5 rushing touchdowns for Devin Singletary. They give him a 3-year contract in the offseason. You know, it appears, Corey, that the biggest reason that they were in on Devin Singletary is his availability, something they didn't always get with Saquon. Last four years, 16 games played by Singletary.
Yeah, and he also has that history and connection with Brian Daboll. Listen, Devin Singletary is just a guy, a warm body to put in the backfield, and about 700, 800 rushing yards is about what you're going to get. Can they get innovative with him and find different ways to use Singletary in the passing game? That could be something that you can look at as well. But kind of when you look back at his career numbers, you know, he's a guy that can get you. Last year in Houston, he carried the ball 216 times, had close to 900 yards rushing. So that is something that he can do. And what you see, though, that yards per carry is about 4, but that yards per reception, right? And he did catch 30 balls last year on 38 targets. That yard per catch is about 6. That's not a very good player. You want your running back and his catching numbers to be in that 9, 10 range, like Christian McCaffrey or like Austin Eckler when he was at his prime out there with the Chargers. So you're not really going to get a lot from Devin Singletary. This team is going to be dependent on their wide receivers and getting the ball to their playmakers on the outside. And the running game is really just going to be, you know, it's not a committee, Joe, because the guys behind them are terrible. But I think this is Singletary's job right now. I wouldn't call him a workhorse, but he has workhorse-like qualities, mainly because the people behind him on the roster are not that good.
It's wild. You mentioned Deshaun, leading receiver, Darius Slayton, 770 yards on the Giants.
Yeah.
The neighbor's number is 850 in the hook. Over under.
This is tough right here because I got so much animosity towards Daniel Jones. But Malik Neighbors is a fantastic football player. I wish we get to see his rookie season with a more competent quarterback throwing him the ball. But because of his talent, and there's nothing in the running game, I'll go over on Neighbors.
Let's say I'm doing an NFC East best bet, and they have those exactas now. We like a horse race, you pick number 1, number 2 in exact order. I would probably go Philly, Washington right now. And I would think that because you have a long shot in there, you probably get some decent odds. Do you think the Cowboys we're talking last place? Or third?
I
Or are we
don't
looking
think
at third?
I think if they start to falter, I think they pull the rug and go for it all the way. So yeah, I think they could go from first to worst in the NFC East this year. They play the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. I can see Jerry already having Bill Belichick, at Teterboro Airport. You know what I'm saying? Getting that sneak meeting in, getting ready to hire him and bring him in. Listen, when you don't extend the quarterback, you don't extend the head coach, and you're basically saying, I want you to prove it. You know what that means, Joe? It means the morale in the organization is bad because now everybody's playing for their jobs. And I think, and if I'm 80-something-year-old Jerry Jones that want to put another Lombardi trophy in my office before I hand the reins over to Steven, then you know what? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't blame him. Yes, you know what? You want to make $60-50 million? Go win the Super Bowl, son. You want to come back and be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Don't make mistakes in the fourth quarter. Go win the Super Bowl, Mike.
So that was an interesting question that you asked Sean Marash about Belichick, about coaching in this division next year. And we were talking to our producer, Zach Krall, in the New York area. So he follows it closely. Just how they've handled it with Daboll and with Daniel Jones. Like, this is year 3 for Daboll. And then it's probably going to be the last year for Daniel Jones. If you bring Daniel Jones back in 2026, you're paying him $47 million. He's taking up 20% of your cap. You probably can't do it. He would have to be an all-pro, not a Pro Bowler, an all-pro this season if you're going to pay him that much money, if you're going to bring everybody back together. So it seems like they're going to be hunting for a quarterback coming up in 1 year. And so that's the big question. He was like, whoa, why wouldn't you go get your quarterback and give Daboll some chance to develop him? Like, that's the thing. When you get a quarterback, you're an existing head coach, minimum 2 more years. 2 more. Yeah. It's not 1 more year. You get a minimum of 2 more years. And I'm thinking Joe Schoen, as he's brought in all his people, he's not sure that he wants to commit to Brian Daboll for 2 to 3 more years.